What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. And if you haven't noticed, the last couple weeks I have been on a supers kick. So I've talked about the Sentinel Comics RPG, which I do think is the best straight comic book RPG. I've talked about the Marvel Multiverse RPG, which is an excellent new addition and does some things a little bit differently than most of the available comic book RPGs. But there are a plethora of other options. You've got Vigilante City, you've got the Claim the Sky expansion for the Cypher system, you've got the Phase Rip system from TSR, you've got City of Mist by Son of Oak Studios. But I could go on all day about this.
Not a great plan.
But today, I'm going to talk about an expansion for my favorite Universal RPG. So you've heard me talk about Savage Worlds on the channel before. You know that I love that system for handling many, many genres, and I think that it is just hackable enough to be able to handle all of these genres well. And today, I'm going to talk about the Super Power Companion for the Savage Worlds RPG. Let's get into it.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
So first things first, just like all of the Pinnacle books, this book is a fantastic item to have on your shelf. I love that it is a nice hardbound, it's got solid binding, and this particular copy has not one, not two, but 3 ribbons, which I find to be extremely useful. There is some very standard Pinnacle art. You either like it or you don't like it, but you're not going to find anything that's going to surprise you here. But within the pages of this book, it is set up rather differently than the other companion books that I have looked through, in that a great deal of this is actually dedicated to giving you a roster of foes and heroes to work with to build out your own superhero campaign. And very cheekily, some of these are very blatant references to existing heroes or villains that you could easily just use as a one-to-one replacement for IP villains from Marvel or DC. So, without further ado, you get in here, you've got these nice end pages whenever you open the book. And then this is what we have inside the book. As far as the setting rules, there are some things that are different about this from the older edition. This is for SWADE. This is the newest edition of the Super's Companion. All the characters tend to be human. You can do aliens. But the biggest thing is, there is a new edge that allows for superpowers. And based upon the campaign, you're going to get that edge for free if you're playing a Supers campaign. And then the GM is going to choose the Supers level of the campaign, which is going to determine how many superpower points you're going to get to build out your hero. There's also a number of new, not skills so much, but new hindrances and edges.
Oh, come on. That was damn funny.
Some of the hindrances in here are actually takes on existing ones, but they get a little bit of a different spin. They do talk a little bit more in detail about how to effectively use some of these in your campaign. And this is the edge that I was talking about, superpowers. And this is roughly equivalent to the old scale from the previous edition of the Super's Companion. So a power level 1 would be, think like a group of teenage heroes just learning to get to use their powers. Level 2 would be street level, Punisher, and perhaps even up to maybe some versions of Batman Level 3, they refer to as 4-color heroes, so that's your traditional, your Captain Americas, your Iron Mans, your Aquamans, those sorts. Level 4 are going to be your Supermen and your Thors and your Hulks and that kind of thing. And then level 5 are going to be those cosmic level threats. And so you choose a level as a game master, and then you get a certain number of superpower points based on the level that your campaign is going to be at. And then there is a limit to the number of points that you can spend on an individual power with that character. So if you're a, let's say, a level 2 hero, a street level hero, you can't spend more than 10 power points on a single power. There are some other edges in here. Some of them change a little bit. Sidekick has a little bit of a difference. There's Dynamic Duo, another cheeky reference there. There's some great different gear and things in here that you'll be able to use. There's rules for creating a base. These are very similar to the rules that are going to be in the Fantasy Companion. Whenever the hardback comes out of that, the PDF is already out. And then there are some very specific setting rules. And along with that, at the end, at the end of this section rather, there is a suggested set of setting rules for different types of campaigns. So if you wanted to play like a street level campaign or a cosmic level campaign, there's different setting rules that they suggest for those. And that's, of course, still up to your discretion how you use that and what you use and what you don't. Knockback, whenever you're having those big superhero epic fights, if you do enough damage, you can knock back your opponent automatically. Power stunts, you can use bennies to do different power stunts, and some of them are really cool. Like you can use one power to mimic another. One of the examples it gives is maybe if you've got a fire hero and he needs to make a water attack, maybe he uses his fire to burst open a hydrant to spray the enemy with water. So it does cost you a penny to do that, so it's not free, but they do give you a lot of flexibility, and it makes it able to create some of those scenes from the comics or the comic book movies that you've grown accustomed to. Give some more information about scaled things that will work differently in this type of a setting than it would in a normal traditional Savage World setting. And then as you get more into, these are the styles I was talking about, the different setting rules according to the style of campaign you wanted to play, a 4-color, a cosmic, gritty, fantasy horror, ultra-violent, 0 to hero, so on and so forth. But this is the meat and potatoes of the book. So powers, these are different than powers in the standard Savage Worlds game. As a matter of fact, there is I believe it's a trait for a race that you can give superpowers in the standard Savage Worlds. And it says specifically in this book, don't use that one. This is going to replace that. And so these are set up very similar to the powers that you would find in the Savage World system, but they are on another scale. They're much more effective. The modifiers are different, and for the most part, they are not using power points to activate these. I'm not sure if any of these actually use power points to activate them, but there are tons and tons of options, and when you think about using trappings to flavor them, you can create just about anything that you would want with the book here. And then when you go back into the section with the different rogues gallery and the heroes and things, so you've got the Blood Widow, which is clearly a take on Black Widow. Blackguard is clearly a take on Batman. So you've got lots of these that would be very useful. The Crimson Fist, I think that is clearly a take on the Hand, which are generally in red uniforms, so the Crimson Fist would be like a red hand.
It worked. Okay.
But anyways, there's a lot to like in this book. I think that if you were wanting to play a Supers campaign and you wanted to use the Savage Worlds system because you liked Savage Worlds, then this would absolutely fill that need.
I gave it a 10! A 10!
I think that for the price, $40, you get a very nice book. You get a lot of options, and when you combine this with the core SWADE rulebook, you have got enough content to create DC, Marvel, Image, Mirage, any comic book line that you want to create. You can do it very easily right here. And I will say that the powers listed in here are, in my opinion, much more well suited to a Supers type of game than the powers in the standard SWADE system. Those powers are great for representing psionics or magic, but in the case of Supers, this is the way to go. And this is the Superpowers Companion for Savage Worlds Adventure Edition by Pinnacle. And if you would like to pick it up, you can find it at your friendly local game store, or you can find it at any of your favorite online retailers. So some good news on the personal front. Looks like I might be lining up a new position with a great company. Kind of in talks about that, and something may come of that next week. And so might not have to reduce my gaming as much as what I expected. So that's a blessing that I'm thankful for. And I appreciate all of you. Your comments have been very kind. And, you know, starting next week, I am going to be looking at doing something other than Supers, but I wanted to touch on this before I moved on from the Supers theme. And this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Until next time, good gaming, and God bless.